Yeah. All right, call the, January 14th, 2026 meeting of Village of Cross Plains Sustainability Committee to order.
Like we lost Melissa. I'll give her a minute to pop back on.
It's like a roll call. I want to make sure I get your last name. It's Jenny Dieter. Okay, yeah, I'm doing it right. It's Jen Wang.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
some people say Devering, but it's Devering.
Okay, well. Also does back and don't. Oh, wait, I'm doing a roll. Okay, we're gonna do roll call. Jenny Dietering,
Here.
Melissa Gavin,
Here.
who was it? Jen Wan Curl. Here, and Michael Pomakowski is here. Okay, committee member report outs and updates. I think all I have to say is that Steve has resigned from the committee. So, if anybody knows anybody else who'd be interested in joining, just let me know, send me an email.
Okay.
Something. Otherwise, we will find someone else through other means. That's all I really have. That isn't on the agenda. Does anybody else have anything they want to say?
No, thanks.
You're good, Jen. Okay, discussion on possible approval of the minutes of the August 13th sustainability meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second? I'll second the approval of the minutes. Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Okay, minutes are approved. Jay would like to do a little presentation on, he installed solar panels on his house a year ago, and he just kind of wanted to give us a little update about what he learned from the experience and what happened, etc.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm gonna focus, as Michael said, we put up a solar system, last, August, not this last, but the year ago, August, 24. You know, I gave the fact sheet, it's there, so I'm not gonna spend too much time, and I'm just focusing on kind of the financial piece, because that's probably a big part of if people do it or not put solar on. Obviously, there's the social part of it, of doing things better for the environment. And I'm not gonna get into the discussions of pros and cons and all that. So what we did is we put up a 4.26 kilowatt system, and that's what the expert, the company that we hired said we would do. And they put the system up that they think will cover the average usage of your household. So the original, the cost of the project was $21,513. I ended up getting a federal non-refundable tax credit of $6,274, and then Focus on Energy gave me a rebate of $600. So my total cost in dollars was $14,639. Now, the companies really push for you to put a loan on this. I chose not to. I made this as a cash investment, like you put this amount of money into a CD. That's kind of how I looked at it. Taking this money, just putting it as a CD. They were charging the interest rate that at least this company had was 5.99%. And you'll see when the numbers come out, you're not gonna recoup all of that for quite a while. So looking at the 14,639 is kind of what I have invested in my, solar project. And then I went down a month's worth of savings that I received. And you get that, I brought an MG&E bill. And some people were telling me they had a hard time figuring out how much they were getting, from MG&E. But you can look on here, for example, this one I'm looking at was from September 10th, 25 to October 9th of 25. And it produced 275 kilowatts of electricity, which saved me basically, in this case, $54 on that. So you go down here and you can see when you get into like May, June, July, and even August, there's a pretty good return on it. And they were pretty good at matching our usage. There was only 2 months where actually we produced more electricity than we used, and it was only like a couple bucks. And what they do then is take that off your gas part of the bill. So that's pretty nice that you don't lose it. They credit you, and I don't know the formula that they used, but they did that. So that happened a couple times. So I ended up in a year's time saving $682.55. So if you look at that, that was a rate of return on that 14,639 of 4.7%, which I thought was pretty good considering the bank is offering a little over 3%. Now, this is where it's contrary to what they tell you. The payback, if I just took all that 600 and paid back, it would take me 21.4 years to get it paid back. But a huge variable that's not taken in consideration this, which I think it's really important, is I don't see interest rates. I don't see electric rates going down. If anything, they're going to go up. And at the time when this was done, halfway through this, MG&E was looking to increase their rates in 2026 by 4% and 4.9% in 2027. Now, the PSC did not allow that, so they're going to end up just a tad less than 1% this year and a little over 4% in 2027. But the point is, as the rate goes up, obviously my income, my savings is going to go up. So the rate of return and the payback will lessen. So what my plan is, in 5 years, I'm going to redo this and see what kind of an impact that had. So the other part of this that I looked into is did this putting a solar system in increase the value of the home? It's clear in state statute that assessors can't assess you as an improvement when it comes to solar. So that's kind of a nice deal. So there are 2 models that were out there. One model is they do a straight, say it's going to increase your value of your house by 4%. Maybe on average, that's kind of, and if you looked at my house, it would have been 18,628. But I'm thinking if my system was on a house that's 250,000 and another house, same system on one that's worth $1 million, there's no, I just don't believe that $1 million one's going to go up 4%. Possibly the 250 one might go up a little more. You don't know. So there's another model out there that they say take for every dollar decreased in your utility bill, you multiply it by $20. And that came out to 13,651. And that seems a little bit more logical and makes sense because now the value of your house doesn't matter. It's the system and how much you save. So if you save, $700 on a 250,000 or $700 on a million, the amount that the value goes up is going to stay the same, which is probably a better way of doing it. But those were the 2 models that are out there. But again, with reading the bill, it's very simple. What you end up earning is a minus on their bill, that they take off. And, it's pretty easy to read, and there's categories, you save some at every rate level, right? So if I made 200, what was it, 182 at the basic rate, and then the variable rate, it was 104, and the other one was 83. So they break it still out by category. So overall, I think it, for me, looking at this, I think it was, a good investment. I would think I would probably change my mind if I had to borrow for it. I think that really adds to it. But if you're doing it, if your motivation is to help the environment and stuff, then I guess that's not as important. But when you look at dollars and cents, I think my guess is I'll probably have my system paid off with it in, for people who want it, probably 12 to 15 years. If the electric rates continue to go up the way they are, and we're talking about all those data centers on how that's gonna jack up, it's really gonna make a difference. And the service has, just for the company that I use, they monitor it. And as soon as they see a problem, they call us right away. We had our TDS updated and it threw off their transmitter or something. They sent us an email right away and we called them and they had some stuff out. So it was pretty good. So overall, I give it a pretty positive experience on it. Things that I didn't take into consideration that really changes how much electricity, obviously how long the sun's out makes a difference. So obviously in the summer months, you do more, but a couple things like this winter was the one, the sun no longer, I mean, in the wintertime, the sun doesn't set directly to the west, it sets more to the southwest. And there's kind of goes up. So you lose the sun a lot sooner, even though it's out, it's coming behind the trees and houses, which I didn't, and then that snowstorm killed me because 9 inches stayed on top of there. And I can tell you that month, we only made $17 because it didn't melt off very quick. And there's not that much daylight anyway. So and I wasn't gonna crawl up on the roof to brush it off. I'm not gonna, for 20 some bucks, I'm not gonna risk that. But there were a couple things like that was really interesting. And then I thought because they're black, the snow would melt off real quick. But it doesn't because they're not attached, they're not on the roof, so that there's air underneath, so they stay really cold. Because my neighbor has them, and their whole roof is snowless, but the snow is still on the panel.
Wow.
That was interesting. So there's some things you learn on that, but overall it was a pretty painless system, and we're both, my wife and I are pretty happy that we did it. So I just wanted to give you guys, since you guys talk about this, probably a source where people come and ask about it. That's kind of the nuts and bolts of a case study on what I experienced.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that they provide a variable rate on the savings you said.
Yeah, was, you know how I don't know how they come up with that, but in the summertime, you have peak and non-peak. So you get, whatever that rate is, you're saving on that at that time period if you're producing electricity. Because the electricity goes to the grid. And then, so a lot of people thought, well, if you have an outage, you guys still have power. That's not the case. When the villages loses power, we lose it just like everybody else. It's still getting put into the grid, but unless you put in a battery system, that's extremely expensive.
We just did that.
Oh, did you put a battery system in?
Put a battery system in. We did that for a number of reasons, but we also combine our panels with plug-in electric cars.
Ah, okay.
So there's various different ways then that you can save, because if you're saving on gas, we have a plug-in hybrid and a
Right.
all electric. So we save a lot on gas.
Yeah.
Way.
Absolutely.
But then the Powerwall also just giving us that peace of mind for an outage.
Yeah.
So really good case study. I love how you broke that down. Wonder if there's any good way we could even summarize something like this to get out to the public in a newsletter or
You
something.
can certainly use that. I don't have a problem with that.
Right, exactly. Just to let people know like what the options are and what happens, like.
Yeah, the only issue is that federal tax credit is
Go on,
no
right?
longer.
Do you know, has the price come down? I'm just, cause see, that's what I was wondering, if they boosted their price up because they know people are getting this refund, and now people are getting this refund, have they brought it down? I don't know. I haven't checked in it.
Original number of panels to be installed, like 8 years ago, I think.
Yeah,
And then we just installed an additional 15 so that we could
okay.
more match with our cars now.
Yeah, cause your usage has definitely
Yes.
gone up with that, yeah.
And the panels have gone down somewhat
Have they?
in price,
Okay,
not tremendously, but.
okay, it doesn't make up for the $6,000 then. Okay. All right, good to know. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. And like I say, I'm just more curiosity. I'm gonna see what it looks like in 5 years. You
Do
know.
they
Jay,
become
this
less?
is really interesting. Hey, I just want to clarify, did I hear you say that your estimate is that your payback time will be more like 10 to 12 years?
I am, that's what I'm thinking, and I've used 4% increase every year. So.
Okay.
But again,
Thanks, this is really great.
yeah. We'll see what happens with electric rates,
Right, so.
but
They do lose some efficiency over time,
Okay.
but we've actually not, in the 8 years we've had other panels, we really have not noticed a difference as of yet.
yeah, and when they give you the loan, they do it over 20 years. So I think what
It's
they
a
think.
20-year warranty, I believe, on them.
Yeah, I can't remember that, but the one other worry was if you needed a new roof, how much cost would it be to take them off and put them back on? They'll do that for you once for free. At least this company.
So maybe
So that was,
new roof when you first put them on, that way.
you know. All right, thank you. You guys have a good meeting.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
Bet.
Okay, so now we were discussing the village cops plan and the incorporation sustainability plan moving into that, and we had gone over quite a bit of information or things. I put it all in the packet, kind of what we had wanted to put in, where we'd wanted to, just to kind of try to aggregate it all and just to see like what we had done, if people had other ideas, and exactly what we wanted to do with these ideas. I'm uncertain where the plan commission is right now in going through that. I think at their January meeting, they looked at the survey results, but I haven't listened to that meeting. I didn't go to the meeting, so I don't know what they discussed or what they talked about, but I included those results in our packet, the survey that was done. And I don't know, it was pretty interesting. If you go down and look at the page, there were a lot of questions on sustainability because we asked Carly to put that in there. Yeah, it's on page 39. And it was the further efforts to reduce, reuse, recycle, more efficient buildings, less chemicals. And if you look, like the 5 is the strongly in favor, and like pretty much all across the board, it turned out to be a pretty powerful results in terms of all of these sustainability sort of initiatives being supported by the village, which I sort of, found that to be very encouraging. Now, at the exact same time, it looked like only out of the village, I think they only had 167 responses. So it wasn't a large group of people that responded. And so I don't know if they actually expanded that. I'm uncertain what would happen with those results. And, but we're just gonna take it like this because I don't think they're planning on doing another one. I don't know. I'll have to listen to that meeting and find out, unless you know anything about it, Bobby.
I do not know anything about that.
Yeah. Also interesting is that on the gender question, 63% of these people who answered the survey were women also. So it was like 33% men and 63% women. So I was like, and there was some prefer not to answer questions. So that just kind of, I sort of found that interesting. So I was like, okay, well, we got I don't know, women liking sustainability in the village. I don't know if you can extrapolate that or not. So that was interesting. And then there were just a bunch of write-in answers of people talking about different things and parks and et cetera, and et cetera.
So yeah, if you want to pause on that slide right
Yeah, I
there,
was gonna say,
that I found interesting is that for sustainability efforts, F, and then also like enhanced bicycle pedestrian facilities, H, people are willing to pay more money for those things.
Oh, is that
It said yes, potentially including tax dollars to help achieve those goals. Those were like the only two where it was clear that people were saying. There's a couple others, but
what page is that, Bobby?
45.
Yeah.
so that's really encouraging, although as you noted, it's only 60 some people.
Right. It seems, I don't know how well it can be used to reflect the community. That's what'd be interesting to see if they're planning on doing another one, or if this is just kind of like the one that they have to do for state statute, then they just kind of move past it. I don't know. I think since they have this out there, probably gonna. But I don't know what the timeline is for the whole plan though, because this plan, we're doing it now, but it doesn't have to be finished until 2028. I mean, this is just all like very preliminary things that are being done. There's going to be community workshops and other things that are getting involved, or that will be part of redoing the plan. So I don't know. So did anybody have any other ideas or things from the survey that they saw that they liked, or just encouraging things like what I saw? And there were a lot of good comments in there as well. So about sustainability, a lot about just other things, and people complaining about trains and all sorts of other sort of stuff. So it was just kind of a good survey.
There were a lot of comments about the golf course and the pool in particular.
There definitely are. Yeah.
What I do think the golf course continues to be a concern for many people. Just sort of a sustainability thing.
That it definitely is. And that's where, so like I was going over a lot of rereading the work that has been done, when we were going through the various chapters, and specifically I really went over like the chapter 2, like the natural resources one, like the one that Jenny did, because after having sat on like board meetings where talking about how the golf course could affect the groundwater recharge rate for the creek, and being so close to where those springs are that are located across Highway 14, and especially if I don't know if they're looking to put in their own well, or if they're going to be on village water in terms of watering that golf course, what that would do to the groundwater recharge rate, how it affects the creek, and et cetera, and all the concerns that are being brought up with that. It just sort of made me question what's going to happen with all that stuff. And then going through it, you start reading about the things like our hillside protections, our woodland protections. There's a lot of things like that when I was rereading the nature section that we talked about inside the plan, but they got bumped up onto a separate list that I have of where I want to actually go through and actually reacquaint myself with what those actually are and with what they actually mean in terms of reading like our subdivision ordinance on those things and what those overlays actually really apply and how they do apply to the golf course. I do know that I sent Carly an email question about that, and I know that the planner kind of is sort of aware of some of those issues with the golf course, that there are some of those areas where they're looking to do things where those overlay protections are going to come into play. And the board will have to decide how they want to deal with those.
So the hillside ordinance though is still in place, because we had discovered that water quality order wasn't, but the hillside one still is.
The hill,
Hillside
yes,
protection.
I believe, yes, that definitely is. What exactly it is though, see, like what the details are, like as I was going through, working through this and rereading all this stuff over the weekend and Monday and last night, I was just like, okay, we have to become more familiar with what this hillside actually is and with what like we have a woodland overlay protection as well. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what these details are on this. And in turn, I mean, I'm sure it's going to be coming up, but yeah, the water protection one is definitely not in there. Like that one's been removed. And inside of here, I mean, you make a great recommendation to bring that back, but with like the current political climate of the village, I'm uncertain it's going to happen. I mean, we can definitely make this recommendation and it would go to the plan commission. They just might take it out. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what exactly they would do.
I don't remember why it was taken out.
See, I don't know when it was originally taken out. That's the thing, that I wasn't around when it was removed, or I wasn't paying attention when it was removed.
I remember it was removed and then they like remember how it was all messed up?
Yeah, it accidentally got placed back in.
Yeah.
And then it got
Removed again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it seems like we figured sometime in the last 10 years. it was
Yeah.
removed,
It's definitely within the last.
Which I feel was to our detriment during flooding.
It definitely, whether or not it would have changed anything during the flooding, I don't know. See, it was just such a large amount of water that I don't know if it would have really mattered or not if that was still in place.
Yeah, you're right, because I think along Brewery Creek was where a lot of flooding was.
Right.
And there was new development along Brewery Creek, but I think within that water quality corridor, they had it listed as one where it was like building could occur within 100 feet or something.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah, within the center line.
Yeah,
Yeah, and what's weird about it is that even when that development went in, the corridor might not have been in place. It's very weird, the timing on that, because those houses were built, I don't know when they were built, in 2000. I mean, that could have been before, because this corridor, I think, came into play like in 2002, 2003.
I think that's around when houses were being built.
See, it's all really sketchy about when those times were happening. So with that being said, there's a lot of the focus inside of the natural area of the sustainability plan, which is where I think a lot of our changes are going to happen based upon what I was basically kind of going over and summarizing. I mean, we kind of found that the transportation section was pretty good the way it was. I did land use, and I couldn't figure out anything to change that. I should reread it again, but going through and trying to look at our plan priorities, I still didn't know how to incorporate that. Jen did some really good stuff with the housing, and on chapter 6, a lot of these things can be incorporated into it. In terms of her document, trying to figure out how we want to move forward and move these in, or we just make this recommendation. And that I need to talk with Jay or Carly about when do they want our changes and how would they like them? Would they like them listed, or do they actually want them in the document? Because I don't know what the state of that document is right now. Because they made changes. I don't know if somebody is collectively going to go through and hack and change the comp plan to incorporate all their changes, or if it's all just a bunch of notes just sitting on pages right now. Like, I don't know where it's at. So the chapter 6 stuff could get in with Steve's stuff from chapter 5. Reading it, I kind of just got, he talks a lot about the parks and open space plan, and then he makes a lot of references to a stormwater utility, and he talks about the Cross Plains Area Stormwater Management Plan from 1996. And then again, on the second page, he talks about implementing the stormwater management plan, considering a stormwater utility, considering the entire basin when designing stormwater facilities, which we have never done in the village. It's always been done on this is the plot of land that's being developed, and we're just sort of focusing on making sure that plot gels with ordinance. Like water, the amount of water coming in is the amount of water that can go through. We have to retain this much. So reading Steve's piece, I started to come up with a lot of questions about the Cross Plains Area Stormwater Management Plan. And I was going to ask Matt if he was here tonight, if he knew anything about him. Oh yeah, Matt is not here tonight. We have Bobby because Matt was not feeling well today. I forgot to tell you guys that. But this would be an interesting thing to see what was in this Cross Plains Area Stormwater Management Plan, and if this document still exists in the village, to see what their suggestions were. So I'm going to contact Matt and try to get a copy of that, because I want to see what that is and what that suggested and what that does. So that's kind of what I pulled from there. And then the last thing was, we have all these other things in our plan, and we should probably try to get them somewhere into the document. Now, whether or not that means inside of the nature section, a lot of these other things just kind of go because we can't figure out anywhere else to put them, which I'd be fine doing that.
In my session, I did mark in red where the plan priorities are that I draft.
Right, yeah, when you were going through
A
it,
couple that did fall into there
definitely.
already. So there was the one about, providing guidance to residents on preventing pollution in our waterways. And then developing a set of standards to ensure that stormwater is managed to the greatest extent possible. And establishing that water retainage project. I think those were the 3.
Right, exactly.
So how many did we have total?
There are like 25 or so.
Okay.
But a lot of them, some of them are duplicates in terms of stormwater management, establish something else. They all just kind of blend together.
And some of them are maybe not relevant anymore either.
Right, exactly. Some of them, yeah, like the Dropbox for medicine, let the police do that. And so I was gonna go through this because I have this document, the Cross Plains Sustainability Plan items. And on my to-do list is I'm gonna go through that listing and mark what chapter it's going in or where it should go or what we want to do with it. We can come back and talk about that. That's an idea that I had. Which is why on the one document I wrote, what to do with the other plan priorities, which is basically figure out what to do with them. Does anybody else have any other ideas or anything on this topic, or what are you guys thinking?
I'm thinking, Michael, I'm considering your question and trying to figure out what I'd suggest. I'm not having an easy time kind of tracking what still remains that we might need to work on. Like, what is left that hasn't been integrated in some way into our mock-up of the comprehensive plan. And am I just, is that in the packet and I've just missed it?
No, because I just have the plan, the plan items listed, but on that page, I don't say whether or not they've been incorporated into the plan.
Yeah.
or not. That was
Okay.
kind of what I'm gonna do is on that document, go through and say, this, chapter 2, this was talked about in chapter 4, this was talked about in chapter 6, or this, we're gonna put in chapter 6. So that we kind of get an idea of,
Yeah.
if
Okay.
we covered everything.
Yeah,
That's
that would be
what-
really helpful because I can't
Yeah.
like I can't quite I think that a lot of these have been covered or the big ones have been covered, but without having done that mapping myself, I don't know. But that seems like the right next step.
Yeah, I think it definitely is. I think that we have all this stuff here just kind of out there, and it's
Mhm.
need to figure out what to do with it. It's basically what needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I will do that, and then I'll figure out what we want to do with these other things, and I just might incorporate them in also if I'm incorporating or figuring out what how they want to have it done, or where they are.
Yeah, I think that's the next step because we don't want to prepare things in a format that's not useful to them.
Right, exactly, and that's just kind of where we're at. We're like, what do you want from us? We've sort of done this, sort of
Mm-hmm.
read some stuff, came up with a bunch of questions, and how should we move ahead? So let's do that. Let's plan on doing that, or
Okay.
I will look into that stuff and ask some questions and figure out where we are. So
That's great.
okay, so that's what we'll do on that. We still have to focus on energy grant money. Throw that out there. The $1,000 is still floating around, right, Bobby?
I have it earmarked, or yeah, but it's separate.
Yeah. Now I do have, now this is also in my other list of questions for Matt. Because right now, the village engineer is putting together a list of, I'm gonna say, updates / improvements that the water treatment plant needs. The water treatment plant is like 20 years old. We just paid off the loan on it, but they're basically telling us things are getting worn out in there, right? Isn't that kind of the idea, Bobby?
Yep, just, electrical panels and pumps and different things are, they've been there for 20 years, so it's Yeah.
Right.
maintenance.
So even though Matt is the staff person for this committee, I don't know if he actually is aware that when Focus on Energy came through, they went through the wastewater treatment plant and did some of these energy efficiency things in terms of like the UV disinfectant and the digester blower. And now granted, inside of here, a lot of these were like, oh, the cost to optimize these might be more than what you're gonna get back if you just put a straight motor in there that runs all the time anyway, because all the controls and all the fancy stuff costs so much. But if our engineers are going through and thinking about doing updates to things, I want them to be aware of what Focus on Energy did. I'm not sure these two things are like, that
Yeah.
they know that this exists.
I
Yeah.
agree with that. I would be surprised if they knew.
Yeah, exactly. Because just at the last finance committee, weren't we talking about how they rented a crane to replace some pump or something out there, or?
No, they didn't rent a crane. That's the company that we purchased the pumps from. It's called Crane Engineering.
Oh, but they didn't need a crane to
No,
do it. But
no,
they did
no.
see, because that's kind of what like triggered, like at that finance meeting when you were like, oh, they bought some pumps for the wastewater treatment plant. I'm like, they know Focus on Energy did a thing, and that's where I was like, they probably, they just replaced pumps. They just went to just straight up replace pumps. But again, it's probably a lot easier just to replace the pump than buy a bunch of stuff. But I am going to send this to, that's why I don't know if he knows this exists or not. I'm just gonna make him aware, and I'm gonna ask him to make our engineers aware of this stuff, since they're preparing like a more formal plan for upgrading the wastewater treatment plant. I want to make sure that they know this was done.
Yeah. Aside from the recommendations, Michael, is your thought around how we could use the grant to do any of those upgrades, or are you just thinking about making sure that village staff know that we've already done this level of assessment?
Well, I mean, if we want, I mean, if they, it's really just depending what the committee wants to do. I mean, I wasn't really earmarking, I mean, it's $1,000. I mean, some of this upgrade stuff's gonna cost 50 to 100,000 to like tons of money more. I mean, if we want to say, here, use this grant money, so the village doesn't, the water system or the sewer system doesn't have to borrow an extra $1,000. I mean, I'm fine with that. If we aren't coming up with any other way to spend this money and it's going towards a energy efficient motor at the treatment plant, then, you know, I'm fine with it if you guys are.
Is there a time limit on spending that money?
No, Focus on Energy just gave us a check. It's not so we don't have to spend it like right away.
I noticed on their document, they clearly prioritize high, medium, priority sections. And so why not just look at the high priority options there, and we don't have to know exactly how much the thing would cost, but we could just pick one of the high priority ones, maybe a lower cost high priority one, and throw that money at it and get it going.
Well, definitely, but the whole thing is that any one of these options is gonna cost way more than $1,000. That's the
I didn't read them all through, but what would be the least expensive of the high priority ones? I see a couple that are at the library. I'm trying to look through and see. How about that LED light one? That,
Yes. Thinking even if you're replacing some of the light fixtures, like it.
yeah, that can't be hundreds of thousands of dollars to do some.
well, no, I mean, if we wanted to, you know, talk to the library and be like, I know at one time they were planning on doing some LED conversions in there, but
So they're not LED at the library?
what
No, they are.
Okay.
I think the ones up above those got replaced during COVID because there weren't a lot of people there, so they did it like when there wasn't a lot of people going to the library, so they could shut down the main area and get the lift in there and all that. But like the ones that are over the books on either side, over in the adult section, they did like 2 rows. And you can tell they weren't sure like what color they wanted because one is whiter than the other one, but they're both LEDs before you get to the older ones. Like I think they were trying to decide what they were gonna do, but that's when Pam was there. And Pam's the old library director, and when she left, I think that was possibly something that they were looking to do in terms of converting, but I don't know if Elizabeth is still planning on doing that, or if she's just waiting for a bunch of them to burn out, and then she's like, okay, now we're gonna do these 2 rows this year or something. I don't know what their plans are.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe she wasn't even aware that it was the intention to
To
switch
switch
them
them out,
Yeah.
yeah, it could have been completely just like overlooked and not a tremendous concern or not. I mean, and who knows, maybe Public Works has like 400 old light bulbs, there's like, we have a bunch of light bulbs, we're just gonna keep replacing. I mean, I don't know, you know? They're like, we have all these, let's just use them until they're gone, kind of.
Just one thought about using that money is that it sounds like when you were talking about the wastewater treatment facility, like there's already sort of plans in place for replacing some of this equipment and that sort of thing, and perhaps borrowing money. Or maybe there's already money earmarked. Maybe we want to, instead of like offsetting costs that way, choose something that might almost never get done if we don't use this money.
I got you. Right, like use it more as like in a proactive manner rather than something that's going to definitely have to happen.
Right.
Like that could be. Yeah, I got you. Like use it more visibly, like possibly even an educational event or something.
Wasn't the next item on the agenda like on composting? Does that grant thing have like a matching requirement or something, or is that something? Not to jump ahead on the agenda, but
Right.
Yeah, let's do composting. Yes.
Right, so talking about like using this for educational purposes, this is a question that I just want to ask the committee in general. I get emails from Middleton concerning environmental education things that they're doing at their library. Would you guys be interested in if I forwarded those things to you or not? I've wondered this, since you guys are on the committee.
Sure.
Like, I don't want to blow your emails up with things, but like some of them come through, I'm like, well, this is kind of an interesting sustainability thing they're doing. I'm like, should I forward it to the committee or not?
Oh, for sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my first question, because they're a committee, like, because we've talked about doing educational things, and I'm like, Middleton actually is doing these educational things, and like they just had one on like how to plant your yard to be pollinator friendly. Like they had like some guy come in and tell you like basically how to turn your garden to Melissa's, I guess, is like what it was. So that, and then my second question is, do you guys want the emails from the Dane County Office of Energy and Climate?
What does it usually entail?
It's basically it's basically what's being done sustainability in Dane County, like at the Dane County level. But they will, they'll have, like webinars where people get together, like where they'll host them and they'll record them. So I don't know, like if you'd be interested in what, like, I know on one of them, they had a webinar where they invited Kelly, who's the sustainability coordinator in Middleton, and she did a talk on how Middleton implemented their sustainability purchasing policy. It was actually like a
They finally
webinar.
did that.
Say
Oh,
again?
they finally did that? So was that, okay, good.
I think they actually like implemented and passed it, and it's sort of been on my to-do list, but there was a webinar where she actually spoke about it, and that was through this office. That's why I'm kind of like,
Yeah, I think that'd be great, because if it gives us ideas or maybe helps us meet our plan priorities.
yeah, I mean, and these emails aren't like all the time like that. The Dane County office one is like once a month, and the sustainability stuff from Middleton's like once every other month. I mean, it isn't a lot of emails, but I just wasn't sure like if you guys want to see them or not. But okay, I'll just forward them on, and you guys can do with them what you read them or check them out. It was just a thought. I wasn't sure if you wanted me to do. Okay, so I will forward this focus on energy thing to Matt and let him know about the wastewater stuff and ask him to please let the engineers know that this was done, and if they're thinking about any of these things when they're going through and doing their plan. Because I mean, it's eventually going to come to the board, and I'm going to ask them about it anyway. So I kind of like want to let them know I'm going to ask about it if they've been looking at improvements in pumps or variable speed drives and et cetera, et cetera. So
In terms of the grants, I'm gonna put it out there. I wonder what it would be like for us to use the remaining the grant funds to work with the library where we provide those funds, and there's a partnership where they then offer a series of community education events. So they can use it for upgrading their facilities, anything that is on that list that they might already be planning to do, and this could help offset. But I wonder if it could be used as an opportunity to partner with them. That would be, I'm curious what folks think about that.
Are you saying use the money to do the upgrades that they're
Yeah,
they're already
support
planning?
to support their upgrades, whatever upgrades, if there's an upgrade on this list for the library that they're already thinking of. The trouble is that probably none of the upgrades are gonna, all of the upgrades this would help, but it wouldn't actually pay for. So it's a little tricky. It's a little tricky to say you have to do an upgrade with this money if it doesn't actually pay for the full cost, if that's not already in their budget. But my hope, what I'm suggesting is that in trying to figure out the best use of it, it seems like we can both use it for implementation of energy efficiency of a project and use it as an opportunity to partner with the library to kind of increase visibility and community education and awareness around it, rather than say a use at the stormwater treatment facility that maybe we don't quite have as much public, there's not quite the opportunity for public awareness building.
Right, I got you.
I think that's a great idea, especially because, you know, the worst thing would be spending the money in a wasteful way, but the second worst thing is not spending the money.
Right. Yeah. We've been
So
sitting on it for a while.
let's at least try and get it out in the world here and do a thing.
Okay, well, do you want me to contact Elizabeth then and be like, hey, we have $1,000. Were you planning any energy efficiency measures at the library? Could you use the money? Is that like how you want me to do that?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a two for what I would say, Michael, is a sort of a two-part conversation. One is we have a grant. We would be happy to earmark for library upgrades. And we also want to partner with you on some community education opportunities in 2026. And I don't think that we have to be super directive about what that is if Elizabeth is already planning some things, but I think having an intentional, maybe it's a 3-part series or 3 different workshops in 2026. Maybe it's around Earth Day or Trout Days, but trying to use it as an opportunity to partner with the library to do more public awareness. But I would say it's a 2-part conversation, the conversation has 2 elements to it.
So I just stepped down as library board president to be on this committee. And I would say that the way it should be phrased to Elizabeth is much like you said, but you don't need to say, like, are you planning anything to do that's sustainable coming up? Ask her for the next 3 things that she has already planned. She has her ducks in a row.
That's
She
great.
knows, yeah. So you can just say to her, we are interested in cooperating with you and coordinating for your use of this grant and for education while we're using this grant. Can you give us the next few things that you have planned that might be in this direction, and we'll help you with that.
Mm-hmm. Michael, are you okay reaching out to her about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely fine doing that. So the next 3 things, we are interested, in using the grant to help. Yeah. Okay.
They have money and resources to make that education component happen, and it can be around what we use the money for.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I'll see what she has planned.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so that's kind of what I was thinking on that item. The next item I just kind of threw on is the discussion on the Dane County composting information and the grant opportunity. This was just sort of something Carly sent me, which I wasn't sure.
Is there anything in the packet on that?
Yeah, there's actually a page because it had the links. It's like 1 page. It's page 72.
Okay. Oh, it's only open till February 1st.
Woo,
Yeah,
that's tight.
That's the whole thing with the grant is that it expired and it's due February 1st. That's why I was kind of like, it was kind of short for us to do it when I was reading it. It didn't look like anything that we were doing would be on their list of ways to spend the money. It didn't look like there was any way that we could possibly do it. I just put it in there in case anybody else saw that or
my thought is that a first skim and also considering the tight turnaround, I don't know if they'll open this again, but I would be really curious to read about the funded projects because I wonder how they might inspire us. For the sustainability plan, we looked into, one of the things was to look into a community composting program, and we found that we couldn't envision a way to make it work. But I wonder if these projects could help unlock something for us in terms of inspiring us to think about how we might do something in Cross Plains.
Uh-huh. So maybe somebody can be in charge of bringing those winners or whatever to our attention, right?
Mhm.
Um, I'm looking at the site now.
Yeah, and I
Mm.
just see now that they also have had past grantees. So there's so examples of projects or expenses that would be eligible for funds include, here are some things that they must have done before. Subsidizing paid vendor services for the collection of food scraps for composting, the
Oh,
construction or purchase and setup of on-site systems for the collection of edible food scraps, yard waste, consulting support or supplies for the development or expansion of a program, and also supplies or staff staff volunteer payroll for the development or expansion of a program. And I feel like we're not even here yet. Like we looked into it and couldn't even find, we couldn't get a foothold. So I feel like there's a step between applying for this grant
yeah, agree.
and but yeah, between where we are and applying for this grant, like there's some project development that we would need to think about.
Yeah, yeah, I don't think, I just threw it in there because Melissa or Carly sent it to me. And I
Yeah.
just kind of was reading about it. I just kind of wanted to put it on a radar that Dane County's doing things like this. I mean, the one area I kind of was wondering if somehow we could apply for it to like subsidize our wood chip. And because we do some composting of yard waste, the village does. And if we
Yeah.
could get that grant to basically
Mhm.
say, oh, here's, you know, for running this. But when I was reading it, it's like if we were starting that program up, then
Yeah.
it seemed like the grant money would be available. But since it's already an established thing, I don't
Mhm.
think the grant money we could apply for it. So I guess,
Well,
Except, yeah,
unless
unless we
there's
are expanding it, it sounds like.
right,
right.
specific improvements to it, and I don't know enough about it to know what should be specifically improved.
Mhm. That being said, these are small grants. So
Yeah.
the whole fund, they only have $10,000 to
Yeah.
grant.
Uh-huh.
It's
Yeah.
so kind of small potatoes. And it looks like for 2025, those grants were $2,500 each.
Yeah,
Um,
these weren't
so
large things.
yeah. So it just makes me, it also just makes me not too worried about missing this grant deadline, because I think trying to figure out you know, what we could propose in a 2 week
Yeah,
period.
too tight.
Um,
The only thing we could apply for is consulting support, because we would need somebody to tell us what we.
Right.
yeah, well, that's a great point. I guess, I mean, that is, I guess that could be something if folks wanted to push that. That's a good point.
I don't know, that's pretty tight.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen, but I just thought I'd make you
Yeah.
guys aware of it, that it was out there and it was brought to my attention.
So Carly, Becky and I were talking about this the other day. If we set up a drop-off site for food scraps, like where would be a good location for that? Like,
Well,
I don't know.
geez,
You guys have any ideas? Or
I don't know where it would be. Well, I guess my question is so if the village set up a drop-off site for food scraps, then you would have
like a purple cow or something would come
them
pick them
come
up.
in and get.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Kind of like sort of like what they're doing around Madison when they have these drop-off locations.
Right.
So why not in the same area by the village garage area where the wood chips and yard waste drop off is?
That was the only thing we could think of, yeah, where it might
Right.
be appropriate.
It makes sense to pair stuff so people don't have to think about, well, where's this one? Well, where's that one?
Well, yeah, they would just take it over there. I wonder, you know what I'm curious about how big like these drop-off locations are in that they've scattered around Dane County. Like there's one in
Yeah,
Middleton.
there's one in Middleton by the skate park.
Is
Haven't
it,
been there to check it out.
so you don't know how big it is? That's why I was like, is it just like two garbage cans that are locked inside a fence thing, or is it a fairly large dumpster? I mean,
Yeah, and if we did get the grant to set that up, I'm sure then there's recurring fees for
oh,
pickup and disposals.
oh,
of it. So
definitely. I think
we
that,
would have to have a plan in place for ongoing funding.
well, yeah, that would definitely then have to go to the board for like budgeting of that, because that means that the Purple Cow would have to be driving out here to replace it or do all that. I mean, it just wouldn't be the grant cover all.
Hmm.
But the grant could definitely get it started if you needed to, you know, move some stuff around, build something, or construct a fence and things like that.
Right.
Right. Okay. Well, those are
So
good things. So you guys were talking about that, Bobby. What did you guys come up with? Really anything or not really?
I think that's when Carly said, I'll send it to Michael. We have sustainability talk about it.
Okay,
Is composting on our plan priorities?
it is. It is one of the things.
I
On
mean,
there.
we should maybe make sure that doesn't get buried too deep. So maybe when 2027 comes around, we can
You know, that would be,
apply for something.
that would be a good possible supplemental, right? It would have to be a supplement to the budget inside of some department, public facilities, because if that's where it's gonna go, for a food composting drop-off place inside the village.
I am now a little bit of FOMO now. I'm thinking, well, maybe we should at least try to submit. It's probably an easy application. And I wonder about whether we should try to submit to pay a consultant to scope out what it would require for us to expand it to food scraps, our current facility to food scraps. Has anybody looked at the application itself?
Just opening it up.
If it's Dane County, it might be a lower lift than if it's like federal money that with like a higher bar to apply. Please
Well,
complete the application on page 6 to 10 of this document and submit as a PDF.
Where do you see that?
It's on the application. There's a link on their website to the application, and it's on page 5, it looks like.
Huh.
And the application,
Oh, there it is.
the application will probably take maybe a couple hours. So again, it's like, is the juice worth the squeeze? I'm
Right.
not sure, but I also don't know. My guess is that there's not, I have no idea why I'm basing this on, but my guess is that they're not going to be like super crazy high demand
Flooded with
for this grant.
applications.
And there's no reason not to submit it if we feel like we have an idea, which to me, the idea is paying somebody to help us scope out the possibility of expanding our current compost site to include food waste. Is that accurate? Is that what I'm hearing from people? That could be an idea?
I like the idea of having that in our village. I'm not sure who this person is that we would pay. What is that business? And I mean, is that how does that work exactly?
Well, the consultant who could scope that
Yeah.
out, or
Yeah.
I think once we've had the grant funds, I don't think we need to know that person. I don't think we need to have that person in ready to go yet, but I think we could with those funds, I think that we could
I'm
find
thinking you
somebody.
might need some of that to put into the grant. Describe the project being funded. Expand planning projects.
One name here that does grant writing, that,
Lauren Savard,
is that who it was? I don't know if she would be able to help us with this with such a short turnaround time, but perhaps.
Did you say there's somebody who's on the board who can help with grant writing?
She's on the finance committee.
Okay.
And she,
Mhm.
I don't know, they moved here a couple years ago, I think. And that was part of her career, actually, I believe, was grant writing, so.
Mhm. Yeah, Jen, I don't think that we would need to I think what we could say is the only section that we would need to answer this question about the potential consultant
Yeah.
is expand on your project team's ability and qualifications. And I think here what we'd say, it's only 100 words max. I think what we'd say is there's a sustainability committee and, maybe a village administrator who would select and oversee a contractor who could do
Okay.
that kind of assessment for us.
Okay.
It's funny because at first I was like, no, this isn't worth it. But I'm like, I don't know. Maybe this isn't as heavy a lift as I was thinking. It does look like an easier application to complete, but we would need a volunteer who says, yes, I will take this on.
I do not have time, and I know Carly does not have time in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm.
Yeah. Me either. I cannot do that in 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's a.
What kind of oversight would be required if I were to work on a draft of this? Who needs to see it next? Like what would be the process? That's my question.
I would think Carly.
Yeah, I would send it to Carly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because she would be the contact person through the municipality for this, and she's a staff member.
Well, here's what I can do. I will volunteer in the next couple of days. If I don't get to it in the next couple of days, I won't do it. But I would volunteer to put some draft language together in an application and then move it on to Carly. And if it feels like it's something that we can submit, then I would have, Carly would be the person to submit it, but I can pull together the draft language. And I'd say, I don't think there's any harm in applying. We can always decline the grant, even if we get it and say, actually, you know what, we bit more than we can chew. But, so how about if I volunteer to draft some language and I send it to Carly?
I think that'd be great. I'll bake you cookies.
That'd be awesome because, so you're proposing the grant so that we can figure out if we can do food composting.
Yeah.
Hire somebody that can tell us what we would need, how much it's gonna cost, sort of let us know if going with like the organic cow or purple cow or whatever it is like a possibility for the village, and it would be something we would want to be putting on our budget for next year. That's what you're saying, right, Melissa?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, we're going to ask for funds for a consultant to do an assessment and kind of make recommendations about whether we can. Yeah, I have to figure out exactly if it's like how I would language it, but yeah, essentially paying somebody to do an assessment for us to help us understand the feasibility of a food scrap compost site in the village.
And when we hire the consultant, we should make it clear to them that we would like this project to cost us exactly $1,000. We already have.
Jen, I love that.
This is our budget.
Right. Well, yeah. Yeah, man, if you want to, go for it. I mean.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
That sounds awesome.
Thank you, Melissa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do my best. We'll see. But I'm gonna try to get to it in the next couple of days, and then again, I'll kick it to Carly, and it'll be in Carly's hands to figure out how there might be some questions she needs to answer, especially on that first page. But I will draft the narrative.
Great. That's a big part of it.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay. So this is just the sustainability plan implementation. I just basically keep this in here just so we always have a link to our plan document inside of the Google Docs. It just doesn't take up a lot of space on there. Just want to reference them. It's just sort of what we know what's there. And then the light ordinance is on here. I know it's over an hour. We don't have to talk about it, but I just want to let you know I got some information from a fellow who does pro bono installing of lights and is very into dark sky stuff. I met him this summer in Verona. And he had contacted me about the new village hall and like what was being done on the lighting there. And I told him that I had worked some with the architect to implement some downward lighting, 3000 K lighting, so it's not little white lighting. Was able to lower some of the light fixtures, etc. Just good lighting practices. Because he had contacted me because he saw on the news that our village hall was doing a groundbreaking. And he was like, "What are you guys doing with your lighting?" And so I told him what I had done, and he's very much so an advocate about it. But at the end, so he had sent me this what I'd added at the end of the packet, which was just an informational thing that he had put together. He had found they were working. They were trying to get, I believe it was the Kickapoo River Valley, to get it to be a dark sky area. And they started to run into issues because they were close, but they started to find that when they started to install a lot more LEDs, they started to get a lot more sky glow from them, even if they were using lower K lighting. It's just because it's just because they inherently have a lot of blue light in them, whereas high pressure sodium lights don't have a lot. So he put together this kind of thing at the end that shows like sky glow impact. If you pull down the to the bottom of that one. So basically what he put together was all the way up in the left-hand corner is like your high pressure sodium, which is your standard street light. Now the sky glow, you kind of get that orange color that bounces up. Whereas when you start to move up in the temperature levels of the 1800K, 2200K, 2700K, you can see that you just start to get a lot more white coming off of it. And that's what's whitening the sky and washing out the stars. And this is a really good example because when you're down at 1800K, you can see, even though it still is that amber color, you can still differentiate between blues and reds. And that's because has the blue light in there, and it's more of a spectrum than the high pressures. You can see those other colors. And as you move up, you can see they become much more pronounced. I mean, this is how motivated this guy did. Like, I think he took these pictures himself and altered these lights. I mean, and it was just a fantastic example of how as you move up into these Ks and you get whiter and whiter light, just how it affects sky glow. And he had built this table above that shows you, if you have compared to a high pressure sodium light, a 3000K LED puts out 236% more sky glow, just because there's just that much more blue light in it. It's just an interesting thing that came across that since this has been on our agenda for a while, I just thought I'd throw it down here and just sort of show like that this guy did this, and he's a really good resource. He's done a lot of stuff.
Wow, that's impressive. Where is he based?
To be honest with you, I don't know exactly. I don't remember. I could look it up in his email, but it's around the area because he was in Verona because Verona did a dark sky thing this summer in July that I went to. And he was one of the major presenters, and he had these panels there and was showing and was talking about things that he'd done. And that's where he talked about the Kickapoo Valley, where they were having all these issues. He's gone, and I can even forward you his email if you're interested at all. I mean, it was kind of interesting. He had done some buildings where he's basically an engineer, but he's also a master electrician, and he'll go and redo buildings and for dark sky lighting. And he has some buildings where he's finding somewhere where there's 1800K LED lighting. Like I've looked at a lot of lighting specs, and I have not seen a light spec where you can buy an 1800K like external building light. I've seen 22. You can even buy streetlights that are 2200K now, but I haven't seen them at 1800K. But he was saying that they're definitely coming. I mean, he said he talked to the Chinese suppliers. Like in July, I was like, okay, dude, you take this really seriously.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Come talk at the library.
Well, see, that would be a great thing. I just don't know how many people would show up. Definitely, that'd be part of our education thing. Like, so this was just something that I found interesting. Yeah, I'll send you The
Mm.
email that he sent me, because down at the bottom, he has some really cool pictures of buildings that he's done, and there's a link to an article that he helped write for like the illuminating, like the Illuminating Engineers Society.
Mm.
Um,
Michael, somebody mentioned maybe connecting with the library about this, and I bet, and then you made the point like, well, who would show up? But maybe we don't couch it as sustainability. I wonder, could we connect it to some kind of night sky,
Yes.
some kind of event that's happening, some kind of meteor shower or something
right.
that we're connecting, like we're educating people, maybe there are telescopes out there, and we also have this, we slip this in, this community education component of, hey, and in Cross Plains, if you like what you're seeing here and you want to see more, here's what you should know about how we need to change our lighting. So maybe there's some, maybe there's some astronomical event that we can connect with the library about.
Right.
Yes. And it's all part of the um if we're gonna offer that $1,000 to them, some of the things on their list was lighting.
Yeah, right on, Jen.
It
Yep.
can all be together.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, kind of, yeah, don't just phrase it as like a dark sky thing, but type it more as an educational, this is what's going on in the sky. This is what you can do. This is how you can change it so you can see these things better. Like kind of make it a whole entire
Yeah.
like circular thing.
I think so. I know I can't wrap my head around how people aren't excited about sustainability, but I've learned the hard way that I can't lead with it. And so
Yep.
got to sneak it in there, but maybe the headline is come do some night sky viewing with, somebody who can talk about what we're seeing in the starry skies, and
Yes.
and then have somebody talk about how lighting impacts our ability to see.
Right, exactly. Just don't have it focused just on dark skies or light ordinances, get it
Right.
something else.
Yes.
Like that's
Yeah.
what you're saying, like don't lead with that. Don't
Don't
lead
lead
with
with
the
it.
sustainability aspect, lead with something. I got you.
Yeah.
There's a total lunar eclipse on March 14th.
Oh, see, exactly like that, Jen. Something like that. Yes.
Right.
Uh-huh.
I love that.
And that's far enough in the future, and it's
Hmm.
still dark enough in the
Hmm.
and early enough, right?
Hmm. Yeah, that would be so cool. I think people would come out of, especially if we could, if Elizabeth could find
Yeah.
somebody who could talk about the eclipse and do a short lecture, and we had some telescopes or something.
Yeah.
Um,
I do think that if we handed this all to Elizabeth, she would be able to find somebody to lead this
mm,
event. It would probably be Kelly, right? Because
mm,
she's the adult programming person.
mhm. Okay.
Um, I think if we can give her all these parts, she would make it happen.
Hmm. Michael, could you, in your outreach, so could you follow up on that with her too?
Yeah, I can definitely
Cool.
talk to her about it and see what they were
Okay.
thinking or how they feel about doing something like this or just being part of an educational event. Definitely.
Okay, that's cool.
Great.
Did you ever find out what lights are in the plan for the village hall?
Yeah, well, I mean, what went out for the bid for the external was 3,000 K light.
Downlighting?
Oh yeah, they're all downlighting. It's just I know yeah they're downlit and I tried to get the ones on the building down to like 12 feet rather than, I mean they had them up like some of them were up at like 18 feet and I'm like just trying to light these doors you can put them like right above them, they don't have to be incredibly high, but then on some of the drawings that from the lighting plan to the actual drawing, like some of them didn't transfer. The original 18 feet were still there, but they're aware of that change. So kind of emailed Carly about it and such. So
So you got your eye.
I hope so. I've sent her two emails concerning it. And so yeah, I think she knows, I think the architects know, but I do know that there is another thing that happens where I think the electrical contractor submits something to the architect and they approve it, but that's like the final, but side of that submittal, things can still go crazy, like things can get, you know what I'm saying? Like it's, even though it was like this in the bid, it sounded like things can still slips, so I kind of was like, when that submittal comes in, can I see that also, Carly? It's kind of like what I asked her. So she said she'll keep an eye out for it and trying to keep me, yeah, I'm definitely working, yeah.
The details matter.
They definitely do, and that's what this individual, this Scott guy who sent this stuff said. He was like, "You've done a great job in getting, the lights down and the 3,000, the lighting." But he's like, "But there's still another shop drawing that happens between the electrical contractor and the architect for the final approval." He's like, "That is where things can. I've seen things go sideways." Basically, what he alluded to during that. Even though you have everything all done, that happens, and then other things are ordered. Somebody doesn't see a 3, they see a 5, and they have really white lights versus other lighting and things like that. So. Okay. Well, that sounds good, right, everybody? Are we good?
We're good.
So good.
Okay, so with that being said, it isn't on here, but does anybody have any future agenda items that they want? Next steps, next other things, next thing, same things?
I think we made a lot of plans during this meeting already.
Yeah.
Did. Yeah. Michael, so just to recap though, Michael, you're going to take a look at how the kind of the updates that we're suggesting for the comprehensive plan map to our list of sustainability plan. And you're also going to reach out to kind of find out where plan commission is on the comprehensive plan process, right? So that we can make those comments as valuable as possible. Is that right?
I'm going to send Matt some questions about the wastewater treatment plants.
Okay.
And about that, the stormwater management plan, if that exists, or what was in that, or that's being revived, or if Town and Country has one for the village or has ever done one. Because I think also talked about a stormwater water utility, which is like a separate entity. It's a different utility. Some municipalities use that. I think Middleton just formed one or started one. It's basically, they have, I think, one staff member on their stormwater utility in Middleton, and his job is basically to go around to make sure that all the storm drains are clear, so that when it rains, things don't back up and flood. I mean, it's basically what his job is. So that's like what a stormwater utility does. They have an employee that does that and make sure things are clear. So I'll check on that stuff, and then I'll talk to the library about educational events that we talked about with the grants, and they want to use it for efficiency things as well, right?
Sounds right to me.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And I'll work on an application for composting.
Yahoo!
Yeah. Do we need a motion to adjourn?
We do.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Jennifer Walker will second that motion.
Okay. We have a motion to adjourn and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Bye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. We are adjourned.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Well
Bye.
done.
Thank you. Thank you, Bobby.
Yeah, thanks for